In the rural parts of America stands an old castle. It was discovered by Leif Erikson in the early 11th century. The castle had a Gothic design. What made it strange was that this was before the architectural style even existed. Leif was baffled to find a castle with no kingdom. It seemed to him that the place was abandoned. To be sure, Leif and his men entered the palace. The place seemed empty, but for some reason, all the candles were lit. The castle was clean and furnished. Even the kitchen was full of fresh food. One of Leif's men, Olaf, wanted to check the wine cellar and grab some bottles. By then, everyone was convinced that the castle was uninhabited. Everyone except Leif. He didn't know why, but the Norsemen had a bad feeling. When Olaf returned, he insisted on fleeing the castle. He claimed that something evil lived there, but wouldn't say what. From that day on, the castle earned the name Sinister Palace. For centuries, humanity avoided the castle. But one day, the United Nations decided to investigate Sinister Palace. It turned out that people from all over the world had been exploring the castle. However, none of them were ever heard from again. One of the missing people was a college student named Jenny Woods. She was a huge fan of urban legends, so when she heard about Sinister Palace, Jenny had to check it out. Before leaving for the castle, Jenny asked her friends to join her. They all declined, but that didn't stop her. Jenny drove to Sinister Palace alone one Saturday morning. The last anyone heard from her was through a text she'd sent to her mother. The text read, "I have found my true home in the world below the palace." A whole day passed and Jenny didn't return home. Her parents tried to contact her many times, but their calls and texts couldn't reach Jenny's phone for some reason. It was as if the phone was either turned off or destroyed. The authorities went to look for Jenny the following day. The first place they looked was Sinister Palace. Jenny's car was still parked in front of the castle. The police suspected that someone was holding Jenny captive in Sinister Palace. With their guns drawn, the police quietly infiltrated the castle. The place was in the same condition as it was over 1,000 years ago. When the police went down to the cellar, they found something. There was an old-fashioned door in the back of the room. One of the officers opened the door and everyone was appalled by what they'd found. There was a forest. However, this wasn't the same as the one near the castle. The forest wasn't the only thing that was off. The whole environment was abnormal. The sky was red, the grass was black, and the plants were very different from Earth's. The police speculated that Jenny had found this place and got lost in it. One of the officers, named Benson, claimed that he knew of someone who could help them. Her name was Erna J. Weissman. Erna was a German immigrant who was down on her luck. She tried to make a living through online courses. The topics of the respective courses were German, history, and mythology. Despite the significant amount of research and effort she'd put into her work, Erna struggled to make ends meet. Benson was one of the few people who took her mythology course. He recalled a lesson that talked about portals to other worlds. Benson suggested that the police bring Erna to Sinister Palace to save Jenny. Benson believed that Erna could help the police locate Jenny. After some convincing, the chief of police reached out to her. Erna arrived at Sinister Palace in a police car. The German was in awe when she gazed upon the castle. Erna was very familiar with the legend of Sinister Palace. She also knew of the door in the cellar. Erna explained that Sinister Palace had many visitors after Leif Erikson. Many people who visited America stumbled upon Sinister Palace. Native Americans, Christopher Columbus, European settlers, and so on. Everyone who entered this castle found the portal. Some have even ventured into the unknown world, but not too far. Those who'd done so claimed to have found monstrous beings. Many believed that the door was a portal to the underworld. When Erna heard that someone was trapped there, she came prepared. Erna brought her handgun, a hammer, and 2 duffel bags full of wooden stakes. Erna and some officers would go into the portal to look for Jenny. The wooden stakes would be used as markers to prevent the search party from getting lost. Once the search party was organized, Erna led the chosen officers into the underworld while the rest stayed behind. Every 10 feet, Erna hammered a stake into the ground. After the second stake, the party encountered its first creature. It looked like a deer, but with a more disturbing appearance. Erna identified the monster as a skull creeper. Skull creepers are deer-like entities with black fur and a skull for a head. Its red eyes gawked at the humans before walking away. Erna assured the officers that the monsters in that land won't attack them unless they were attacked first. However, this only applied to animal-based monsters. One of the officers asked Erna if she knew exactly where they were. She explained that there's only one place in the underworld with vegetation like the kind the party was surrounded with. According to Erna, the forest was in a place called Genositco. The only potentially dangerous entities that lived there were the Nerovamps. Nerovamps are a species of female daywalker vampires. Not much is known about them apart from a few things. For example, each Nerovamp has a unique set of powers. They also don't turn just by being bitten on the neck like regular vampires. However, it's unknown how one becomes a Nerovamp. Erna admitted that she brought her own gun because the bullets were blessed by a priest. Unlike the officers' bullets, Erna's could actually kill a Nerovamp. The officers' bullets could cause some pain, thus distracting the entities, but that's all. Erna had used the last stake of her first duffel bag when she and her party found something. There was a temple made of obsidian with a glass dome roof. Erna warned the others that there was dark energy coming from the temple. Thinking that Jenny could be in the temple, the whole party drew their weapons. The officers followed Erna as she approached the large wooden doors. She grabbed the handles and slowly opened them. Lit braziers hung from the columns inside the temple. The wall in the back of the room had a purple banner and a symbol that looked like 2 overlapping pentacles. In the center of the temple was a well-like pool full of glowing liquid. The substance was lavender in color and smelled like eucalyptus. The police saw what was in the pool and asked what it was. Erna said that it may be a potion of some kind and advised everyone not to touch it. The main room had 3 corridors. The search party was divided into groups of 4. The groups called out to Jenny as they ventured down their respective paths. Erna's group found itself in a library. The German examined one of the shelves and concluded that all the books were about mystical topics, like spells and monsters. As Erna and her group investigated the library, a soft voice grabbed their attention. A young woman called out to the temple's visitors, asking for help. Thinking that it was Jenny, everyone ran out to the halls. But as they did so, all the candles suddenly went out. In the darkness, something attacked the party. One officer fired his gun straight ahead. In the brief flash of the gun's light, everyone caught a glimpse of what was happening. Women with gray skin attacked the search party. Everyone struggled in the darkness, trying to fight off their attackers. The officers screamed in pain as they felt something pierce their skin. It was during the chaos that Benson saw something. A light purple glow was emitting not too far from him. Benson recognized it as the pool near the main entrance. He fired at his assailant before pushing it off of him. Benson then booked it to the front doors, which were still open. Benson ran out of the temple and along Erna's path. He kept running until he returned to the cellar. Benson passed out from exhaustion before anyone could ask what happened. When Benson woke up, he found himself in a hospital bed. The doctor explained that an officer called an ambulance after Benson blacked out. The doctor said that Benson was in good health. He then asked about the puncture wounds on Benson's shoulder. The doctor showed Benson the wounds. Benson's heart raced as he remembered what had happened. He told the doctor about Sinister Palace and everything that had happened. As Benson told his story, a horrible realization dawned on him. He asked the doctor if anyone from his search party survived. The doctor shook his head. Benson was the only person who returned from the portal. Benson laid there, overwhelmed by what he'd been through. He thought back to the temple, recalling every second of what transpired. Benson felt guilty for leaving his party behind. But what really got to him was that he dragged Erna into that mess. That was the moment Benson decided to make everything right. He didn't know if anyone from the search party was still alive, but Benson vowed to go back to Sinister Palace and save everyone.